Random thoughts. In this video, I'm going to read part of Jardine's book, The Mad Mullah. This is a book that was published in 1920s, early 1920s, and Douglas Jardine was secretary to the administration Somaliland between 1916 and 1921. And of course, in this book, he tries to describe the war, or to talk about the man who we can say led the war that was called the Dervish War, which happened between 1890, around the early 1900s, up to 1920s, and that is Mohammed Abdullah Hassan. And this is the very early parts of the book, the introduction of the book, and he discusses several things that are of general. Of course, he's trying to paint the backdrop of what he's going to talk about in the book. And in this part, of course, he tells us about the region, the Somaliland. In this case, it's strictly Somaliland. I know I ran into trouble with a few videos I did where I talked about activities that went on in the land, the Somaliland, and then I said Somalia, and some people are not very happy with me, and I understand. Now, this book, of course, is entirely about Somaliland. It was called the British Somaliland, or mostly it's about that. So in this introductory part, it discusses, of course, the land. He gives us the geography of the land, and I found that to be very, very interesting. And he also talks about the history of the land long before the British show up. And in this part I'm going to read, he talks about, and this is given as a note. Now I need to make this clear that this is a note, a side note on the book, and that means it's possible that it's Jardine who made the note, or could be the publishers, or could be the editor, could be, it's possible that it wasn't him actually who made the note, but the note exists in the book. And in this note, he makes the claim that the land, the Somaliland land, was the ancient PUNT land. And I know very many people make that claim, but there are also many others who claim that actually Puntland was not in the region we know today, Somaliland or even Somalia. There are those who make those claims. So, but in this book, there is that note, and I'm going to read that, and I'm going to read within the context of him telling us the region where the land is found. And he says, the British sphere, some 68,000 square miles in the area, and curiously like a ham in shape, occupies the north central portion of the Horn, being bounded on the north by the Gulf of Aden, on the east and extreme southeast by Italian Somaliland, on the south and southwest by Abyssinia, and on the northwest by French Somaliland. So he's giving us the geographical location of what was called the British Somaliland. Now, before that text goes on, then we are given this note, and the note says, it formed part of the land of the Cush mentioned in Genesis and was known as the land of Punt to early Egyptians about 1700 BCE. To the Greeks and Romans, it was the Regio Gnanomorifera. I guess I not pronounce that well. That's the name that the ancient Romans and Greeks used to call that land. He continued to say, although there is a little doubt that the cinnamon was never a product of Somaliland, but was imported from southern India and Ceylon to Berbera or Malawi and the other ports on the Somali coast, and there retailed to the Greeks, who never traded further east or south than Cape Guardafui. To the Arabs of the 6th century AD, it was known as Bar Ajam, the land of heat. So that's the note that is in the book, and I've said that it's possible it's Jardine who put the note there, but it's also possible it's the publishers or the editor or somebody else. But there is that note, and he also talks about, of course, the cinnamon, which seems like it was a very important product that was exported from that land, but he says it wasn't produced on the land, but actually it was brought in from the south, from India and Ceylon, which is Sri Lanka today, and then from Somaliland, it was exported to Egypt and to Rome and to Greece. Now, after that note, he continued to say, it has an average length of 400 miles and a depth inland which varies from 70 miles in the west to 100 miles in the center. The Somalis under British protection are thought to number some 300,000, which I think is a very huge number when you consider the time, that is 1920. That was a very huge population. Yeah, so that is then a text where we are told about some historical facts about the land that came to be known as the British Somaliland. Those are my random thoughts.